Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. My name is Khairuddin bin Jamaluddin and my title for the research for my PhD journey is Influence of Mental Workload on Muscle Endurance for Air Traffic Controller, a Sector Capacity Configuration. My main supervisor is Associate Professor Dr. Nur Ayuni Cik Zakaria and my co-supervisor is Dr. Siti Mariam binti Abdul Rahman. Both of them are from Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. My overview for this presentation is introduction, problem statement, research objective, scope and limitation, literature review, methodology, preliminary result, and Gantt chart and milestone. So without further ado, this is the introduction, which is what is sector capacity. So sector capacity is a metric that shows how much traffic can be safely handled by an air traffic controller unit. So further in this presentation, we're going to call it as ATCO. It is usually described based on the maximum number of aircraft that handled per time unit. If the traffic forecast exceeds the capacity, then either another sector should be open or traffic restriction need to be applied. Improper capacity determination can lead to either overload, whereby the traffic cannot be safely accommodated, or underload, which leads to inefficiency. Okay, next is the problem statement. Okay, first problem statement is the sectorization. So basically, sector capacity can be defined in terms of the number of aircraft which may enter a sector within the given time without causing excessive sector controller workload. Next problem statement is threshold measurement. As for ATCO workload, it can be defined by the time needed for executing observed and non-observed tasks. One of the concerns for shift working is fatigue, and in safety critical work demand as in ATCO, optimum alertness and performance are important to ensure a safe, orderly, and expeditious flow of air traffic. And moving on, the third problem statement is workload rating. Workload was found to be a factor that increased fatigue, which then resulted in a change in performance. Hence, the determination of sector capacity is important to ensure an optimum ATCO workload. So next, we're going to go to the scope and limitation. First, this research is only going to measure heart rate, blood pressure, and muscle fatigue. In this research as well, we do not consider scope of ergonomics of the ATCO. And we are focusing on the airspace of Kuala Lumpur Flight Information Region. Going up next, literature review. For this time, it is literature review on sector capacity definition. So in this review, we will study on the past research on how it determine the sector capacity. So as per the table, it started in 1995, which is the Complexity Construction Air Traffic Control, a review and synthesis of the literature. In this study, they conclude that the increases in separation standards, speeds, or number of aircraft would increase the number of conflicts. Next journal is Air Traffic Complexity Indicators and ATC Sectors Classification. This research gives insight into what makes a situation or sector complex for the air traffic controller. Next journal is Cognitive Complexity in Air Traffic Control, a literature review from Hilburn in the year 2004. The following review is on the year 2007, a model of air traffic control sector capacity based on air traffic controller workload. Next one, the relationship of maximum manageable air traffic control complexity and sector capacity from Parimal in the year 2008. In year 2014, airspace configuration using air traffic complexity matrix. In 2018, a sector capacity assessment method based on airspace utilization efficiency. In the year 2022, the review was a novel capacity evaluation model for functional control sector. And the last one is they determine the sector capacity by predicting using machine learning by Ribolo 2022. Next on the literature review is mental workload measurement. So in the year 1988, human mental workload was done by the researcher named Hancock. And then following in 1993, experimental evaluation of model of mental workload. Then it is a review of the mental workload literature from Brad Kane. So in this research or literature review found that there was a biased decision making from the subject due to the perception in mind based on the task difficulties. In 2010, psychological and physiological reactions to high workload, implications for well-being from Remus Ellis in 2010. In this study, it started to compensate human body parameters such as blood pressure. The measurement of drivers' mental workload by Digby Dewar 2014. This approach concludes that determination of general valid level in terms of absolute values or scores on a measure is unattainable owing to individuals' differences in workload and the relativeness of the concept of mental workload. On the year 2021, cardiovascular biomarkers inherent timescales in mental workload assessment during simulated air traffic control tasks by Mulhausen T. So this study shows that all the cardiovascular biomarkers were sensitive to workload differences with different inherent timescales. Results also indicate that different cardiovascular biomarkers reveal different inherent timescales. And the last one is physiological and biochemical measures of mental workload of air traffic controllers, a systematic literature review by Chipto-Mulyono in the year 2021. The result of physiological measures still differs between broad studies. The difference might be influenced by the study task load, difficulty levels, and the participants' characteristics. Next on the literature review is muscle that indicates stress. From the table, we can see that there was a study in 2009, influence of mental stress on heart rate and heart rate variability. Also in 2013, there's a trapezius muscle EMG as predictor of mental stress. In 2018, there's a study named stress detection using electromyogram signal of erector spinae muscles and trapezius or facial muscle, which one is more suitable for the measurement of stress using EMG signals. The statistical test also showed that the upper trapezius muscle was a better stress detection site as compared to facial muscles. Other studies like neck pain, global epidemiology, trends and risk factor stated physiological risk factors such as long-term stress, lack of social support, anxiety and depression are important risk factors for neck pain. Next research is the influence of neuroticism on the muscle response in the trapezius and frontalis muscles to anticipatory stress. So the results suggest that the neuroticism should be considered a moderating factor in assessing anticipatory stress using surface electromyography at the trapezius muscle. Impact of stress and trait anxiety on the sensory and jaw motor responses to a tonic orofacial nociceptive stimulus. And the next research is EEG signal analysis for mental stress classification review. This paper gives us a brief introduction of EEG followed by a comprehensive analysis of artifacts and their removal techniques. And the last one, tremor, finger and hand dexterity and force steadiness do not change after mental fatigue in healthy humans. So this tells that the research provide no evidence that mental fatigue affects the neuromuscular parameters that influence postural kinetic or isometric tremor, force steadiness and dexterity when measured in single task condition. Now we come to the methodology section. In the process flow below, we can see there's two main sector, which is sector complexity configuration, which gonna go into work package 1, which is measure air traffic and airspace complexity, identification of airspace complexity, identification of traffic complexity, measure airspace complexity based on sector, measure traffic complexity based on sector. And moving on for the next project is work package 2, identify secondary threshold to support air traffic management. Recruit multidisciplinary expertise. Next is research methodology trial run. Research ethics proposal and defense. Next is data collection. And then we go to data analysis and findings. And last is threshold method for official document. And next is the rating for sector capacity configuration. Preliminary result for research objective 1 is data of flight can be retracted in Flight Radar 24 website. And flight data can be downloaded for the analysis to be made. Preliminary result for research objective 2. Current sector is divided as per sector 1, Perlis, Kedah, Pulau Pinang, Perak, sector 2, Kelantan, Terengganu, sector 3, Pahang, sector 4, Kuala Lumpur, Melaka and Johor. Preliminary result for research objective 3 is we have done the heart rate measurement on EDCO. Testing was conducted by measuring heart rate of the EDCO for 1 hour, 35 minutes and 20 seconds. For the progress of this research, it can be seen in the Gantt chart and milestone. As you may know, literature review is continuous up to the end of the research. For the gathering airspace and traffic data, as the secondary data from experiment, we have done the heart rate and blood pressure measurement from the air traffic controller themselves. And hopefully the next test is going to be to measure the muscle fatigue of the air traffic controller. My main task for quarter one is to get the preliminary measurement on the air traffic controller. So hopefully by quarter two 2023, I'm gonna go for the gathering of the data. Once we have the methodology right. Okay, as for the publication, no publication has been made yet, as current task is focusing for defense research proposal. So hopefully, my target is to publish in the next semester. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.